It's a great honor and pleasure to express the everlasting gratitude of the Republic of Korea and our people for the service you and your countrymen have performed in restoring and preserving our freedom and democracy.
No, I wanted to be in the Navy so bad. I wanted to serve and travel, You feel so proud. I remember I was so happy when I got to San Diego for boot camp. They fly over there and get there at 2 o'clock in the morning and start hollering at you and all that. I felt so good. It was, maybe that's the biggest thrill. I was so happy. Everything was so great. Getting up early in the morning and good chow and good training. Oh, I was in heaven. I went in, I wanted to be on a ship. The school was frozen when I was in boot camp. And they said, how about the Seabees? I said, well, that's exactly really what I wanted. So I ended up going to the Seabees. And they sent me to Naples, Italy. Everything that was on the base was done by the Germans because they joined the Italians during the war. The guy that was my lead man, he was in the Navy during the war. And when he was in the Navy, our ship sunk his twice. You feel great when you belong and you serve.
I respect all my fellow veterans from Vietnam and Korea. I went to Korea, I saw a lot and I did a lot. I don't like to speak about it. It's hard to explain to people to talk about it. When you're here and you see all of us together, it's a real happiness day. For me, I'm proud of myself to have gone to give my service to my country.
First of all, for all of us as veterans to acknowledge this group that's coordinated this present that they have given us. I've had some very bad dealings with the public for our experience and nobody really acknowledged what we did. I've never seen anything like this. And what we received at the airport from all the travelers was really something else. That showed me that the American public does have a feeling for us.
I'm very impressed with the people that worked this honor flight. I'm beginning to get a little more impressed with the outside. Coming through the airports, people notice it. The whole deal of everybody. Today I was rather surprised, and I still don't know why or how it happened, when we received the Korean Medal. And I do want to thank all the helpers here that has helped us through this.
It's the guts and it's the glory, 100 stripes, 100 stories. It's the Pledge of Allegiance on the 4th of July. It's them handwritten letters from home. It's them sleepless nights alone. It's his newborn baby he left with his wife. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, lay down, here's a line. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, for these stars and stripes. Hey.
The song that was played this afternoon on the Hill, I was one of those that came back to San Francisco. And the song where you got spit, that was me. I spit on at Frisco with those people. But the kid today from the Coast Guard was amazing. He had heard stories, but he wanted to know. And the one thing is, I know the Corps guys, if you were infantry, I was an 03, I was a grunt. And the kid asked about socks. He had heard about socks, that we had a lot of socks. I said, well, yeah, you changed, or you got jungle rot. He had no idea. What was jungle rot? But the other funny thing, when I told him, and my guardian didn't know this, we didn't wear underwear. And people were amazed. I said, humidity, wet, you would get killed. But they also didn't realize, we didn't shower. You're out in the bush. You didn't change clothes. Went 8 months in the same set of fatigue pants. You're out there, you don't want to smell. You don't want to smell clean. Charlie finds you in a heartbeat. The kid was amazing. The young gentleman, Sanders, the one from Houston. And he also saw, I don't know if you noticed it, the memorial with the 3 soldiers. The belt of ammo that he was carrying across his chest and around his waist. Which way were the bullet heads facing? They were facing the wrong way. The point at your neck, you fall down, where's that bullet going? I was told, and I felt like maybe this trip, a healing trip. Maybe heal. I don't think it'll ever heal. It's going to always be there. Understanding, but coming off the plane here at Reagan, I was the first one off the plane and hit that crowd. It scared me to death because of San Francisco. And I had people rushing from behind the front line of people coming at me. But all they want to do was shake my hand and say thank you. It was touching.
I had begun to think, sitting in my little hacienda in Las Cruces, that this kind of feeling had gone away, that we didn't have this brotherhood. You guys have brought that back. The other thing that helped today was, and on top of it being a fantastic day, was the young people absolutely impressed me. The young cadets and the Coast Guardsmen and all of those kids, they genuinely liked what they did and were happy to be representing this country. So it's reaffirmed my belief that tomorrow can still be better.
My wife asked me what I enjoyed most about today, and what I enjoyed most was going up on the hill and hearing "Welcome Home." I've been waiting for this for 52 years, and thank you very much.
I just wanted to, first of all, give a shout out to all our handlers, and did such a great job, especially Denise. We're being a little biased, but ever since the first meeting at the memorial with the garrison commander talking to us, and every step, when we left El Paso, till we got here, the bagpipe, the color guard at the World War II memorial, everything just progressed. For me, the hill, that put all us fools on the hill, and that welcome home thing, that was tops for me. But the relationships and the brotherhood that we forged here these last couple of days has been tremendous. It's been overwhelming, and it's nice to see grown men cry together and hug each other. It's been an experience that has just brought me back down to earth, and I just want to tell all you guys, man, welcome home, man. I want to give you all a shout out. Welcome home. Thank you.
I was in an engineer brigade. Well, what our biggest problem was the mines, the road mines. So that's how I got my Purple Heart. I hit a mine. See, I had one guy next to me on the tractor trailer, one behind. One of the guys decided to ride on one of the tractors that I was. And when we hit that, my God, dust all over the place, and I couldn't see. So the guy that was next to me, he was just there, and the truck looked, hey, get out. Well, I had to kick him in the head. He had his helmet on, but then I went out looking for the guy that was in back of us. He wasn't there. And the guy on top of the front loader was somewhere in there because they blew the loader out of the trailer. There was probably maybe a 6-foot wide hole in the trailer. I went looking for him, and I found him, and he was the one that really got bad. We crawled back and told him, get under the truck and stay there. And then the other guy, then I looked up, he was running down the road. Running. I started hollering at him, hey, Cortez. I guess he heard me. And I hadn't seen what was wrong with him, but he almost lost all his hand. He came back, and I told him the same thing, get under the truck. Most thing I remember, a Cobra gunship. I could hear him. I could hear the blade. Turns out he was circling around us. No wonder nobody got near us. And yeah, I always remember that was always, them were heroes. He just went like this to me. And I told him, yeah, okay. Took off. Well, after everything quieted down, I went and sat down. I was bleeding out of the mouth, and my stomach hurt really bad. And, you want to get medevac? I said, no, I got stuff in the trailer that needs to be delivered. For some reason, they put the mail inside the trailer. We got there, me and Marshall. We got there. Yeah.
I was invited here because I was in the Navy in Vietnam, but the real reason I'm here in tribute and in memory of my father, Alvin Pleckelman. He stormed the beaches of Normandy at 17 years old. He was in Salerno, Italy, Operation Overlord, Northern Africa. And he couldn't be here, so I'm here in his tribute and in his memory. Rest in peace, Dad. Best dad I ever knew and one of the greatest Navy veterans. In tribute of my dad, and also in tribute of the fallen and the missing man, I would like to share something very special with you. Thank you.
From the fields of Indiana to the swamps of Louisiana to the golden coast of California, Uncle Sam's the only family he's got. His purple heartbeat won't stop, and his 18th birthday was the day he was born.
I was drafted. I got sent to the Pleiku, the 3rd of the 6th Artillery. It was a support unit. They were spraying Agent Orange and clearing the forest. We had been traveling for about maybe 9 months. When we got to the South China Sea, we hadn't showered for maybe 2 months. We were approaching the beach. There was a big lizard, must have been about, maybe I would say, about 6 feet long. We saw it, and then the Arvins right away, they got their rifles and shot it. And at night, must have been about 8 o'clock. I could smell some nice, good meat. So me and my friend would go down there, and he says, "Yeah, let's go check them out and see what they're doing." Well, they had that big lizard, they were roasting it. And then they invited us, so we had lizard and rice. I mean, it was really good meat. We hadn't had anything like that, in a while. So that's what I tell my kids, something like that. I don't tell them other stories, just that.
1969, I'm sitting in English class, about to graduate. They redo the lottery, and my number goes from 139 to 7. So I go down, talk to Air Force recruiter, figure join the Air Force and not go to Vietnam. Well, I go to basic training, helicopter school. In October, I'm in Southeast Asia. It was tough. But 51 years later, I'm here with you. I'm here with you. And I made it. I don't know if I can do this. I made a new friend, Bernice. This is this program is on point. And thank you.
I was infantry. I served with 1st Division, it was a big red one. I was a machine gunner. And on one operation, the enemy was a big division. I think we knew what we were going to be going into. Our company was assigned, our platoon, to go in there first. But when we got up and we were told by our lieutenant, okay, now it's time for us to move. Well, we started moving, and then all of a sudden we stopped because one of our brothers forgot his rifle. 2 of the sergeants and the lieutenant were really upset. Called the other lieutenant. They took over our spot. The other platoon, they hit the enemy. And on that battle, it was a big battle. It wasn't an uphill, and myself and my 2 friends that carried the ammo, we were called and we had to go up the hill. Well, And the thing I'm saying this is because I think I owe it to this brother that he was scheduled to go home in 2 weeks. And he got killed. And as they were bringing him down, then I saw him and I recognized him because they had just barely given him a new pair of boots. That was an all day, and we had to pull out of there because it got dark on us, and it was being hit by the jets with napalm bombs and artillery and all that, and those the enemy were well concealed. If it wouldn't have been also for that brother that forgot his rifle, that platoon would have been us.
No matter where you were at in Vietnam, it was a war zone. I remember I went to TDY in Cam Bay. One night I was passing by on the main road and to the checkpoint. I noticed a chopper flying overhead with a spotlight on, no kind of lights going on down there, and some tracers going off. So I drove down there to see what was going on, and a bullet hit the hood of the truck, which scared me to death, and I was out of that truck in a heartbeat, and they kept saying, "Get over here, Tweet, get over here in the bunker," you know. So I went over there, and they finally shot the North Vietnamese soldier. And then they laid him out on the platform in front of the checkpoint for the Vietnamese go through. And when the South Vietnamese wouldn't come and pick up that body of that soldier we shot that night, he was laid out there for 2 weeks. And every time I drove by in the deuce and a half, you could smell the death, you know, and then his mangled body from the tower, you know, the guns that shot out of the tower. I don't know what they had up there. I tried to do my tour. I got out. Didn't want no more to do with the Army at all. And the reason why I wear a hat, according to my wife, is I'm covering up. I don't want to be seen, you know. She's my rock. If I didn't have her, I'd be dead right now. Because of Vietnam, every family man out there has been through a lot. They have no family, really. It's a reorganization of your family. That's what hurts me the most.
I was in Benoit. I was in the aviation unit. We supported the 173rd Airborne, and they would go out and take the troops out there to that assignment. And they would go back and they would pick them up. 101st, they just got wiped out. Some part of them just got wiped out. I went out to the morgue. I guess I saw body bags. They was probably as tall as this building in here. And I did grave registration. When someone got killed, we would go with my warrant officers to the morgue in Saigon, and we would identify them. And I would inventory their stuff and make sure nothing wasn't in there that would probably upset the family and anything. We would dispose of it and get rid of it. In one instant, we had the VC come in and blow up the runway at night. And we figured out we had spies in our camp. So we had cooks. And sometimes they would tell you, they'd be joking, I guess. They said, VC come, VC come. That was the North Vietnamese. So, sure enough, they come in, you know, and they blew up that runway.
In my first night there, that I arrived at Da Nang, there was a rocket attack across the street, the airport. Hit a fuel bladder over there and on the top bunk. He said, get down on the floor. And I looked out, and the reflection I could see of fire, you know, so that was my welcome. At Da Nang, we had 270 rocket attacks, and we were getting rocket attacks in the middle of the day. In fact, my barracks that I lived in was destroyed, I think 3 months after I left there. I was getting toward the end of my tour, and I was taking a pallet of warheads back out to storage. I had sent the crew home. I was backing out of our shop, and rockets started hitting, and they were hitting right at within about 100 yards of where I was at the end of some bombs that were sitting in an open revetment. I thought, boy, that was close, and I went back in again, jumped off the forklift. I didn't even put it in a neutral, but it sat there and ran for the time I was on the ground. I'm glad I went. It was an experience. Again, I think God was looking after me, so I was okay.
I took the time and I wrote something down, and I hope I don't choke up too much. Most of my unrestful nights are due to thoughts of the war. It's amazing that so many years Real feelings still exist. We never got the support from the government. The lack of help has caused a lot of suicides, loss of life in combat is expected, but not loss of life here at home. Not only our return with PTSD, but also how we were treated with no compassion or respect, but as outcasts for killing and being called baby killers. I've tried cutting my wrists. I've tried hanging myself. Unfortunately, I was stopped. And I had my father had to take me to the hospital. It was so embarrassing. That broke my heart. I had to continue working, and I became a workaholic to keep myself busy. I ended up getting divorced, and I feel solely responsible for everything that happened in my life. It's people that you know that can understand only if they sit down and take the time and don't question everything, but listen, or yelling for help. What keeps me going is my kids, my grandkids. They think I'm a hero. I received these medals I'm wearing, and because of that, they think I'm strong and I'm not vulnerable. Take care of yourselves. Take care of your families. Get the help you need. Don't lose your families. Let your kids understand how you feel. Tell them you've got issues. I'm begging you. Don't try to do what I did. It's not only shameful, but it's wrong. It's wrong in the eyes of God. To this present day, I am proud I served with the 101st Airborne Division, an Eagle, which is a symbol of my unit that stands for courage, strength, and immortality, considered king of the sky and freedom. I wore that patch on my military uniform with never-ending pride.
He was the man of the house when he was born. His family is proud but torn. But if you knew him, you would understand. He was raised on how to be brave, just to see the flag still wave. And then he came home with only one hand. He's Mr. Red, White, and Blue.
I'd been kicked out of college, so I got my draft notice into the United States Army. I was told not to volunteer for anything, but I ended up volunteering for long-range reconnaissance patrol, and we were up north by the DMZ. We would go out to the field. We do all kinds of special missions, mostly go out to intercept or to view the enemy, the trails, and see how many people were operating out there. Mostly we're out in the jungle towards Laos. They take us out 6 in a helicopter, drop us off 2 or 3 days. They infiltrated down the Ho Chi Minh Trail, and they would come into several different locations, and we would try to intercept them. And recon was supposed to be a platoon, but we only worked in maybe 16, 17, 18 guys and accompanied two squads versus 4 squads, so all the units were under strength. We just had to survive the rain and the bugs and the enemy. There were a lot of bugs. They liked to eat us.
January of 1967, I landed in Saigon. I've never regretted it. Swift boats. We patrolled 3 different areas. Qua Viet, which was right on the DMZ. Da Nang, which was our home port, which was in the middle. And then Chu Lai, which was south. We were TDY to Chu Lai. There was a major military action going on the beach. Anyway, my skipper, Bob, and myself were on watch that night. We got a contact. It was about dark, no moon, 2 to 3 foot chop. We challenged this contact, and the contact didn't respond. Right behind us, there's a 50 caliber, twin 50 caliber mod to his turret, and I could have crawled out of I was on the helm, I could have got off, crawled up into the bottom of the turret, but I thought, I mean, it was still warm. All I had was cutoffs, no shirt, and I thought, I'll just step outside and I'll crawl up and climb in over the cabin. So I walked out, shut all the hatches, basically go get armed and ready. And I walked down. I'm just salty 19-year-old. And I went to reach for the railing with my left hand, and the boat rolled away from me. And I missed the railing. And I thought, I had several thoughts, but most of them were, wasn't bright. And I thought, well, I'll just grab for the railing. If I miss, I go right into the props. So I just planted my feet and I jumped, got as far out away from the boat as I could. And we're 3.5 miles offshore. just that afternoon gone through a huge school of sea snakes, very deadly, poisonous snakes. And I thought, as I was sinking, you just bought the farm. When you accept death, a very warm feeling comes over you. And that's basically what happened to me. I just went ahead and said, okay, I'm going to die. And just as I was getting ready to take that swallow, something happened. Headed to the service. I don't know if somebody grabbed me by the head or just this thought went through that says, nope, now is not the time. And I could hear the boat going away from me. Nobody knew I'd fallen. I saw where I was on shore in relationship to the boat. We had seen a village on shore from where we were, and I knew that there was 2 canoes sitting on the beach. And I started swimming, kept one eye on the boat, one eye on the beach. When he got about 1,000 yards from the contact, the skipper turned around. When he didn't see my legs, he stopped the boat, went down, mustered the whole crew, counted heads. I wasn't there. And I heard the boat stop. All of a sudden, all of these boarding lights came on. In searching for me, he exposed the boat and the entire crew in a combat situation. As we got closer, this Marine looked at the same spot 3 times, and the 3rd time he saw my hand in the air. And I didn't have any gas left. If they'd have missed me, I would have gone.
And I just got out of high school, and all of a sudden I'm in training, and I wasn't even 6 months in the military, and I'm in the Oshawa Valley fighting. Wait a minute, something's not right. Yeah, 6 months ain't too much, and it was hard, but we were all teenagers, and we could have ran because we always got letters from the anti-war people. If you don't want to go to Vietnam, we'll go pick you up and take you to Canada. If I ever have any kids, what am I going to tell my kids? That I ran? And they go, why am I running? You know, I mean, I don't want to go. I don't believe in the war, but I ain't going to run. When I went to Vietnam, I had a $20 bill with me, and I went to the airport, and there's this lady. I can't talk, and I can't hear, and I didn't get a card and any money, so I figured, I'll give her 20 bucks and get my change back. She took off like a bat out of hell. So when that guy told me, well, I ain't got nothing, I said, oh, don't worry, I'll take you to the NCO club and buy you stripes, and bought me sergeant stripes. I put them on my collar, went to the NCO club and go, hey, Sergeant, can I buy you a beer? Yeah. Hey, Sergeant, yeah. So all of a sudden I'm drinking, and I go, oh man, I'm having a good time. And then start yelling, we're looking for PFC, Duran, US 5449. I go, oh, that sounds like me, man. Don't you know that it takes 7 to 11 days to get processed? He's processed, get him out of here, send him to the Oshawa. And I go, but you're a teenager and you think you're tough, but you ain't tough at all, and you're scared. With the 4th, I was put in the Laotian-Cambodian border, and we were LERPs. 4 of us, they would send us on missions, 3-day mission, 4-day mission, 5 days. Once in a while, 6, 7, because I remember when I got blown up, I didn't feel no pain or anything, and it was white. And that second I remember from the day I was born till then, everything just, and then all of a sudden, I'm on fire, and then I can't breathe. My lung got punctured, my eye got messed up, I got all messed up this way, and then the enemy started coming in. And then one of the gooks kicked me right here, boom. And he thought I was dead because I was in a big old puddle of blood, and it was my blood, and the flares were up. And boom, I shot him, and he fell. Pobrecito, because he was just as young as I was, or he had no choice. We were there bugging his country, and he's protecting it. Helicopter came in, and the enemy was shooting at the helicopter, and you can hear the pow, 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 in the helicopter go, well, Lord, if I'm not going to make it, at least I know that I saw you or heard you. And leaving my brothers behind, was a lot. So I don't even know if they made it. Yeah. They sent me to Japan, the hospital. There was guys there that were so torn apart. Well, I was torn apart too. And it was ugly. The yelling, the screaming, the hollering, the pain. got wounded on the northern part of South Vietnam. What? Because we weren't supposed to be in Cambodia. Once you get threatened and you see your brothers die and you get, when you got a lot of hate in you and fear, it creates a very ugly bang, ugly. And there's times that you don't care. We're all equal, We'd all help each other a lot and would die for each other. And it's very hard to say goodbye. Very.
First time was ever left the state of Wisconsin. First time on an airplane, first time on a train, and went to the jungle. Wound up stationed at Chu Lai with the 221st Service and Supply. One of the things was coming to a village, we'd seen this old chicken running around, and Willie Miller, a farm boy, and me, a farm boy, we caught that chicken. And we driving through this village, and there was a Chinese guy sitting there with a wok with a bunch of potatoes, and he didn't speak any English, we didn't speak any Chinese, but we got it across that if he would butcher and fry the chicken, we would share. And I'll tell you, it was probably the best meal we had the full time there. And you took care of each other. You know, you hear a lot of guys saying, well, you were there fighting for your country. I want to tell you something. When you're in that situation, you're not thinking about this country. You're thinking about survival of you and the people next to you. Because there's a lot of guys I really like, but you just would not allow yourself to get close. Then you go to the wall and there's 11 people that got close to you anyway. I know when I got back from Vietnam, we wound up on funeral notifications and funeral details and stuff. And families didn't understand, well, how could you let that happen to my brother or to my son? And you just had to stand there and take it. You get spit on, you get kicked, you get punched. And it seemed like the nightmare would never end. You don't mind doing what you do if it's appreciated. The worst thing in the world is to do something and give everything you got, be scared to death for 365 days and nobody care.
Then they shipped me down to Tuiwa. We were still air surveillance. All we had to do was guard our perimeter. It was, we didn't get much sleep. Being an air base near a jungle, of course, that was cleared out. We used to get a lot of rockets and mortars. So you never know what. The Viet Cong did not like our type of aircraft because it was air surveillance and it was a very sophisticated airplane at that time when they used the infrared. It told to me that they could spot a bag of rice in the jungle. If it showed a large signature, that information would be sent down to, I guess, intelligence. And if it wasn't our people down in that jungle, it was the enemy. So then they would call in airstrikes on that particular. So I was involved in the airfield. But more so I was maintaining the electricity on our compound. I was maintaining the generators. That's why I'm hard of hearing sometimes. Back then we didn't have any earplugs. My last 3 months of the military, I was assigned to do funeral details. It was nice. It was a good gig, but the families always wanted for us to invite us to dinner, but there were way too many teary eyes from the family, and so we would always turn them down. We wouldn't go. I was 19 when I was in Vietnam. I was 20 just before I got out of the service. So at that time, we'd go back to the hotel and then we'd go down to the bar and drink about it. I don't regret not one day of it. I would do it all over again. It's my country.
He'll pay the ultimate price. Lay down his life. Mr. Red, White, and Blue. For these stars and stripes. March in line. March in line. As you stood for us in battle, we bowed for you in prayer, hoping that you'd feel our love and know how much we cared. We'll say it loud that we're so proud of you in every way, and how we thank the Lord we're together on this day. Welcome home, faithful soldier, welcome home. Welcome home to those who love you, to the place where you belong. As you fought the fight for freedom, you were not alone. Welcome home, faithful soldier, welcome home.
Friends of mine that were older than me, and they went to Vietnam and they came back all weird, and they wouldn't talk to me, and I go, I wonder why. When I came back, now I know why. It's because nobody understands us, Nobody cares about it. And then they're yelling at you and cussing at you and telling you names and making you feel like no way out. And that's where a lot of guys were killing themselves. And one time I almost did it, Everything just fell. And I was gonna do it. And then this friend of mine he says, "Where's your gun?" And I had it under my pillow and I'm sitting on it. He says, "You're acting weird." I just got my gun and took it. He said, "I'm gonna come back tomorrow, and if you want your gun, I'll shoot you myself." And I go, "All right, thank you." But he changed my mind. And all it takes is 1 second to do it. Because at that second, there's no answer.
The hardest part is trying to get over what you're living with. And this trip and the underflight, thanks to the people I've met, has helped me tremendously. I've got an escort, or my guardian, his name is Hector, has helped me so much. I've adopted him like a son. And today, when we went to the wall, I broke because I found a lot of people that I knew from my unit and from my hometown. I could feel his hand on my clavicle on my shoulder, squeezing, like telling me to be strong. That man is so compassionate that he made me feel a lot better, which was a good feeling to have somebody be understanding who's just a child compared to me. He's a swell hell of a gun guy. I would have liked someone like him when I got back. If only there had been one like him. Maybe I wouldn't be going with the life I had. We didn't get no yellow ribbons on the trees. We didn't get no parades. All we got is ridicule and hate. People were waiting for you at the terminal and abused you. In my case, I was tripped and I was stomped on. And I received hatred. And then I went back into my little hole. And I said, why did I serve my country? I come back to a home where I'm expecting to be accepted because of all the troubles we went through.
So, but I just saw some of those veterans, man. They're hurting, And we should have done more to help them to, get out. A lot of families broke up after that. You need to breathe. We just didn't do enough for them. Get them, we threw them in the war and threw them out.
When I came back, I heard all these stories of protesting and everything. It hurts. It's sad. My best that happened to me in this trip was Elaine. You mentioned about us not being thanked for serving in Vietnam. Like I heard her talk, and my God, that did it. I had never shed a tear until today. Nobody was there like now. Today we heard a lot of people thanking us for our service. I appreciate all of you guys.
There for a while, I couldn't cry at all. And when somebody would say, "Welcome home," I didn't believe them. And first time it happened to me, I was in Alabama, pilot truck stop, and this guy walked up and tapped me on the shoulder, "Welcome home," and he shook my hand. That was sincere, but I've never seen more sincerity than when I was coming off that airplane. And then today, I have to agree with him. That's the most beautiful thing I ever heard. And I thank you for that, and I thank all of you.
Thank you for your courage as you face the enemy. You sacrificed and gladly paid the price for liberty. You'll always be our hero, for you have done your best. We know you must be weary, and you have earned your rest. Welcome home, faithful soldier.
Finally, made me feel welcome back. Back then we came as single soldiers, landed, and went home by ourselves. The only welcome was our family at the airport. The way you all set it up, I mean, it's beautiful.
I still dream. I still have dreams about Vietnam. More so lately, I guess before honor flight. I sleep really good at night now. And I have to say that incident on the hill overlooking that wall will never be beat. That was a smackaroo. And I needed that emotion.
But they should have told us, don't wear your uniform. Because once we got there and we started walking on the concourse, we were approached by college students, but some, I'm sure, females, and then they started cursing at us. We go out there to war so that all these people can have their freedom, and then we get back, and then this is the reception that we get. Little did we know we went to fight a war, and then we come back, and then there's another little war out here.
And the outpour of feelings from an appreciative nation that you've never felt before was almost overwhelming. But I think it starts to help give a little bit of closure. And coming back, unreal. We got off that plane and there was people wall to wall all the way to the front door. People really, really cared. It's just hard to believe. And
it was because of your sacrifice and your commitment that allows us to have the freedoms that we have today. So we would like to thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Welcome back. Welcome home. God bless you.
I would love for everybody to please give you all a huge round of applause and welcome home.
Soldiers of a mighty cause, we're marching on our way. By His grace, we will hear Him say, welcome home, faithful soldier, welcome home. Welcome home to those who love you, to the place where you belong. As you fought the fight for freedom, you were not alone. Welcome home, faithful soldier, welcome home. Faithful soldier, welcome home.
I flew a gunship, and I didn't really want to kill nobody. I would have, if they got in the way. I don't hold it against the Vietnamese. They were doing what they thought was right, and we thought we was doing what was right. The AH-1G, it was always referred to as a Cobra snake, and we had just rearmed and refueled, and they called us for air support. He was shooting at the guys on the ground. We're going to make one last trip. This was over in Cambodia. I spotted this guy shooting at us, and I could see the arc out of his end of his gun barrel. About that time, I seen a big hole come in my cockpit right here, and it went through me and come out right back here, went out right in front of the other guy's face. And we had to jettison rid of all your ammo. He got rid of all the rockets, shot them out in the open field. We headed back to Vietnam. It really aggravated me because I couldn't do anything about it, and I knew the war was over for me. And I'd only got to fly 550 hours, and I was flying 550 hours in 4 months. And I went in and I told the captain one day, I said, "You got to give me a break. I flew 16 days straight. Now this is not 8-hour days. This is all you can stand. You get up before sunup, you fly all day, and you come in after dark at night. You don't worry about tomorrow. You worry about what you're going to do today.
He's got a black hat on, tells you where he's been. It's filled with patches and pins from his accomplishments. He says, I don't need a mention, 'cause I only did my job. I say that we would not be here now if you had not done your job. So give me this one moment. It's an honor to shake your hand and say, soldier, thank you.
I came back to Fort Lewis in Washington, picking up my suitcase and going out the door. But the door did something that scared me. It opened by itself. So I said, what the? The other thing that we did was flush the toilets. We flushed and flushed and flushed. Something we hadn't heard for over a year.
We would not be here now if you had not done your job. So give me this one moment. It's an honor to shake your hand.
Is that the wreath that was down there? That one stays.
I'm good, Colonel. Hey, Colonel.
Talk about stealing things.
Yeah. It's like he had a promising career until he stole that doggone wreath.
And they got it on tape.
He ruined it. Now you got no tape.
This trip, and you people that did this trip, you know, are just fantastic. I like the welcome home we got yesterday. Thank you for that.
Hi, Mom. Well,
I'm not his mom.
Did you hear the one about the kindergarten teacher that used to tell jokes? Anyway.
One of the warmest moments and the best times that I had was listening to all of Elaine's dry jokes. I mean, does it get any better than that? That's the best joke of the whole trip, isn't it?
I think he deserves a mention that he only did his job. I don't think I'd be here singing this song now if he hadn't done that job. So let's all give him a moment. It's an honor to shake his hand and say, soldier, airman, sailor, and marine, thank you.
Did you hear the one about the 3 veterans that walked into a bar? And the bartender said to the first one,